Hello folks, I'm LA Little and this is your daily TA wrap, where we take a look at these markets from a neoclassical perspective and ask ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about tomorrow. I do a show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time here from the base of the beautiful Rocky Mountains. We had one of those days where the market tries to bounce, puts everybody a little bit on the defensive, because we've seen this market do this so many times where it seems like everything's leaning the wrong way and then out of nowhere everything changes, right? And you get a V-shaped move. So they come back up today, they try to push it back up, they push it right back up into resistance as far as they got. And then a funny thing happened, they started to sell down at the end. So we didn't actually get the close higher, we actually closed in the middle as you can see here. But before we get into all that, let's pop over and take a look at the numbers. The Dow Jones was up 48. 14,824 and a half. We had the S&Ps up 4.5, 1635. The composite was up almost 15. That was at 3593. The NDX 12.5 higher at 3072. The Russell 1016 and a half, up 3, up 0.3%. So you can see pretty much about 0.3% across the board. The NASDAQ NDX was a little bit stronger. We got gold down $9. It was up around 1430. Now it's down 9. Selling off a little bit tonight. We're seeing oil sell down as well. The metals in general, the industrial, the commodities, I should say, are selling down. Dollar was up about almost 0.5%, 22.01. It was up actually better than that. Sold off towards the end. So that was actually a negative at the end of the day. Folks, when we look at these markets, you know, last night we were talking about ABCDs down. And those ABCDs down, you know, the bearish ABCDs, they actually set up and they actually showed us that this market wanted to trade lower. Now, when you get a push like that, where you'd already pushed down, well, let's just look at the points. You went from 1670 almost down to 1630. You lost 40 points in 2 days on the S&P. That's a pretty good move, right? So you go down. What do you do today? You go under, back over. That's a 2-bar reversal off an extended move if you're looking at it from that perspective. But you've got broader perspectives. First of all, it's not exactly an extended move. It's a somewhat extended move. But you've got an ABCD down. And what did you do today? You went into the ABCD's B point. You tested into it. 29.3 there. You went into it with 27.8. You couldn't break over it. And believe me, it was hanging up there all day, right until the end of the day. If we bring up... let's see here. Let's bring up the SPY. We could probably see it there on intraday. You can see it got up there, was hanging there all day long. Drops, comes back up, tries to do it again, right? Trying to get over the B point and stay over it. Couldn't do it. Sells off towards the end of the day. So that is a failure. It's a failure on an attempt to get back above your B point. So ABCD down, still in effect. Notice also that you're still under the swing point high. That's 2 days now. You came into it here, you retested, regenerated higher. Now you're underneath it. You're not getting any support out of it. This thing still wants to come down into this bar. 1624. The ABCD projection takes you to about 1609. So that's the way that one's still set up. It still wants to trade. Let's look at the Dow. Okay, now the Dow couldn't get to the swing point, and not the swing point, but the B point. Now, had it done it, it would have had more volume, but it didn't get to it. ABCD down. This one still measures down another, down towards this bottom. It's going to try to get to the bottom. So that one looks the same, no different. Nothing changed today. Then we go to the strong guys, NDX. So today the NDX doesn't get under the low, 30.53, you opened at 30.60, so you gap up inside day, you hold support, right? ABCD here is already done. It was very minor given the way this thing bounced. You're still holding, you're trying to get underneath, or I should say back into this bar, which was the July 11th bar, which was the bar up. That was the breakout bar, 17.4. You got to get into that one to get down to do the retest regen, right? That's where the gap is. So that price point, and notice you got two swing point lows there too. It's underneath this arrow, but there's a swing point low here, there's one there. You break those, you're going to get a faster move, which would take you right into these swing point highs and do the retest regen. It may not happen this time around because there's a lot of good support here, but it's trying to get into that bar. Top of the bar is 30, 60, 67. Yesterday you got into it, 30.59. Today you're back above it, 30.72. So you can see it's trying to hold. It's trying to hold right here and pop back up. NASDAQ Composite, pretty much the same scenario. This one, and so you can see the divergence when you look at these. This one is trying to do the same thing. 35.79 is the high. We haven't got into it yet. 35.73, 35.78. Inside day, less volume. That still wants to try to back down into this bar. I misspoke. It got into it yesterday. 35.79. I was looking at the wrong numbers. 35.78 was the close yesterday. Today it went back above it. So you got into it. So just like the NDX, you got into it yesterday. You're back above it today. This is the battle that's going on. The stronger guy is trying to hold up, and you actually had some strength in Apple today. I think Microsoft bounced a bit, but that's as far as they got. If we look at the Russell, now the Russell is the one that's looking damaging, and what I mean by that is it's trying to create the ABCD down. 246. Let me see. That low was 10.13.23. Yeah, so you're not going to print a swing point low because you already hit it, but it is going to try to break that. That's a B point. That B point, if it breaks, would give you an ABCD down. Let me see. The measurement is to. Do I have that? No, I don't have it, but it's somewhere down around 1003, I believe. So right down into the swing point high almost. So that's the ABCD down here. It's trying to project down into that swing point high, which is the bottom of the support zone. And in this one, very weak bounce today after a big shellacking yesterday. That looks to try to go lower. So on your indexes, S&P fails. Dow couldn't even get to a point to try to test. So those are still pointing down. Russell here is also trying to point down, but you still got your tech stocks, NASDAQ Composite, NDX, still looking okay. Now if we go to the sectors, it actually looks a little bit different. So if I go to sectors, let's start with the IOIT, so the transports. So in the transports, you're actually hanging here at the lows. You broke today, and you're going to try to get in. And it was hanging on this bar from July 9th. That low is 12.73, 112.73. We closed at 112.61, so we're underneath it now. I suspect this thing's going to push on down now and get to the bottom of this bigger bar from June 7th. and that's the next support zone. So you've broken swing point lows. You broke 2 of them here, those 2 prior ones, which changed your trend to bearish. Got a nice big run back up. Now you're coming back down. You've got an ABCD down. Well, it doesn't measure anything, so there's really nothing there. This is really just about support zones at this point, and it does look like it's going to try to trade into the next one. Yesterday's low is 1258. Today's close was 1261. So you do have the same sort of under-over 2-bar reversal, and that one's fairly extended. So this one actually could go sideways tomorrow. The SOX. Now the SOX broke down, did an ABCD down yesterday, started one. Today it does an inside day on no volume, pretty nice spike up. That still looks like it's going to fail and go back down, finish off the ABCD. So that one's negative. XLB. And that's the 6073 on the SOX. The XLB is just a big range up here at the top, but this is twice now they've sold them off. End of the day, this one was up, sold off end of the day. If you look at the miners, for example, they sold off. So you had commodities of which this is reflective of the companies in that space getting sold off. You're going to try to break this point tomorrow. You got a swing point low sitting over here. That's at 40.38. Today you closed at 40.37. You broke it. What's that going to do? That's probably going to push it a little bit lower. You go to the next one. So it's going to try to push down. So now at this point you're bearish on this time frame. XLE. XLE actually, of all things, has an ABCD up, right? Now this is interesting because this is the first one that's turned back the other way. So you got an ABCD up that measures to, now do I have the number on it? 83.46. So 83.46 would take you up in past the swing point high, actually, get you up into here and turn you sideways again. Okay, it's still bearish at this point. So that would change the trend to sideways if it gets up that far. We're going to have resistance turn into support. This one actually had volume come in as well. It looks like it's going to try to extend, so I can't gripe about that one. That one actually looks good. Then we get to the XLF. Remember the financials had an ABCD down. Well, today they completed it and they did a 2-bar reversal. So the XLF actually looks like it's going to try to go sideways to up. And the XLI, same thing. Finished off an ABCD down today and closes under, over, not exactly an extended move, but it could go sideways. So 3 of the larger sectors in the S&P actually held. So even though the broad index looks to go lower and finish off an ABCD, you've got some sectors that are actually holding. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you that if you're playing a game of marbles, there's a bunch of marbles on the table and somebody's fixing to lose them. And you might have big swings both ways. In other words, you may get a push down that didn't just comes running right back up. Or it may not finish off the ABCDs that are there. Right? You got ABCDs that so far haven't finished on the indexes. And you've got a couple on the sectors as well. And if we go to those next, XLK, so the technology sector, this one actually has a, no, I'm sorry, this one actually did finish an ABCD down as well. Did it yesterday, and it's hanging here. It broke a swing point low, and it's hanging at this price point. So we're going to see if it actually closes under it. So the XLK isn't that negative either. The negative ones are over here in the XLP. So the consumer staples, they continue to sell this down. That one's trying to get to the lows, swing point lows. Volume is expanding. That looks like it's going to set up a huge range trade at some point. And the XLU still has an ABCD down, but it can't get going. It's just hanging there. The XLV had an ABCD down. It actually got back over the B point today. That one actually is positive given the action today because you went under, over, you had less volume, you're back in your B point. and the XLY is the other one. So you can see from a sector point of view, it doesn't look nearly as bad. This one actually projects down to 56.25, so this one still has a ways to go if it's going to finish off that ABCD down. The close here, 57.74, closed at 76, so you can see all of these have bounced right back up. Not all of them, but 3 of them have bounced back up, and they're just barely over their B point. So tomorrow becomes a critical day, because what do you have? You have divergence in that enough of your sectors are saying we're going to be able to hold, right, and start to turn, whereas the indexes themselves, 3 of the 5 are trying to go lower. The other 2, the composite, the NDX, are really just hanging. So we're getting close to potentially a turn. Does look like it's going to try to push a little bit more to the downside and then maybe flip back around. If I go over and look at the OX sectors, there you're actually getting, and let's look at the TLT first. There you're actually getting the situation where this thing is going to try to do an AB. Well, it's actually interesting. It could be an ABCD down, right, from here, there, back up and down. So it's a potential. And this little pullback today on lighter volume. The low today was 105.04. It got to 104.94, had less volume. That could be setting up your ABCD up. Right? That ABCD, if it goes up, is going to break 2 swing point highs, turn this bullish on this time frame. If it holds them, get up into this area up here, which would be the next one. And then at that point, you'd probably see some sort of a range. But as we talked about, you actually had some buyers come into this thing, and the sellers weren't there today, which is a change on the TLT. If the interest rates are going to go down, that's going to be friendly to the market. The market should like that. Again, another indication that we're probably getting towards the end of this selling, at least for now. If I go back and look at the USO, because the USO broke out yesterday, broke over 3 swing points, and that was what was driving the XLE today. That one actually held. It's an ugly candle, but it held. And unless we get a sell-off tomorrow, which given the Syrian news, it's probably hard to see that happening, this thing's going to hang some more. And that's what's helping that XLE make its move. Something I wanted to bring up, the DBA, I don't usually look at this, but we saw grains really spike to start the week. It spiked all the way up into resistance. The volume wasn't enough, even though they spiked up there. That's going to hold for now, but you're going to get a pullback. But you're finally seeing the formation of some sort of a bottom, which if you pull this over and look at the weekly, this hasn't seen a bottom for what, the last time it actually started dropping was from 30 bucks, went all the way down to 24. So you got, I don't know what that is, but that's a significant move. But it's starting to try to put in a bottom finally. So if you're into commodities, or you just want to look at the grains through the DBA ETF, that one actually is starting to look interesting. All right, let's look at gold and silver, and then I got a question on the GDX. I'll answer again. It has to do with same question from last night, basically, but we'll look at it. So what happened to gold today? Gold, remember, gold was going into this high, 137.62. Didn't quite get to it. 137.55. Tried to get up there again today, couldn't. 137.46. Inside day, volume expands. That can be a negative, but if we look over at silver, which has really been the poor man's gold, driving everything up, this guy has broken one after another, right, on swing points on the way up. This one actually came off with some volume today. It looks to me like you're going to get a pullback. If you get a pullback here, more than likely that's going to cause your GDX to pull back. So if we go over and we look at the GDX, the question last night was it a short? My answer was, well, if it gets back into that big bar, because it had a lot of volume yesterday as it came down. Here we go. So it had a lot of volume as it came down yesterday. I was talking about this area, and for some reason this didn't reprint today. It should be red. It was going back into that area. That was the area that you had to look for resistance, these 2 bars. You got right back into it and failed again. This one's going to try to come lower. Now the low here is 28.11. You got to 28.13, so you didn't quite get into it. You're pushing 62.5. You're coming back into 66.5. You're coming down 2 days in a row now with 62.5. So, 63 roughly. Tomorrow, this has a good chance of getting blown away. So if you're trading this thing short, you want to see if it blows this away or not. If it gets underneath it, you can stay underneath it, then you can stay with your trade. If it doesn't, then you need to cover because it's going to hang up here. And a lot of that's going to depend on what gold's doing, and as I said when I came on the air, gold was trading down. And then there's a question on NOV again. I think we looked at this one last night as well, and I forget what we said, but let's look at it again and see what our thoughts were. Okay, so this is National Oil Well, yeah, and it got over the swing point high. So now I remember what I said last night, and that is I'd make it prove it and get over them. 74.07, 74.37. You close 74.46, so you're over the highs. You see volume was 3.1 over 2.5 over 2.1. You have the volume. And if we pull it over and look at the weekly, because it was going to break there as well, that swing point high is 75. And you're at 74.87 high. Well, this is where it gets a little more dicey, right? Because you got 2 more days. This thing could blow this swing point high away, in which case you're going to get multiples and this thing's going to run. Not only that, you just got an ABCD up today. And that one certainly measures far enough to take you over it. And let me see if that's true. So 72.46, 47, no, it wasn't there. You got one here. And it didn't fill. Yeah, so at this point the swing point is here, 68.07. And what is that number? 68.07 to 74. So it's roughly 8 points. Excuse me, 6 points? Yeah, 6 points. 6 points onto this. 76.38. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong graph. You can't see what I'm doing. 76.08 is, I was measuring it on the daily, and that takes you over that high. So what I was looking at here, sorry, gets a little tiring at the end of the day. It's been a long day already. So, but when I look at this, that swing point is to here, back to there. It takes you to 76.08, which would take you over the weekly. I think you buy here. I think you buy here and you put your stops underneath today's low. If you want to give it a little bit more room, you can give it the bottom of this one. But you got an ABCD up here, and you actually have a larger one from there. Both of them are going to take you up to about the same price point, which would take you over the swing point high. I think you probably get an extension, and you just saw XLE is doing an ABCD up as well. So I think you have a decent shot here, and that's the way I would look at that one. All right. I'm getting close to time out here. I don't see any more questions. Tomorrow's kind of all the marbles, right? Tomorrow we find out, which player gets to take the marbles home with them. And what I mean by that is we have a situation where sectors look more bullish than the general market. And I'm trying to get back to the general markets here. Sectors look more bullish than the general market. The NASDAQ index has been holding up. General markets actually want to try to push down and finish off ABCDs. That's on 2 of them. You've got the IWM looking like it wants to create one and push down and finish off an ABCD. And then, of course, you got the NASDAQ look like it doesn't even want to budge. It doesn't want to give anything up. So when I look at it from those perspectives, it makes me think that we're getting close to a reasonable bounce. Now, you got the headline news that's going to continue to dominate this whole Syrian thing. I saw late today that it looks like the British Parliament isn't going to vote on it tomorrow, which is probably going to delay it. Now, maybe that helps the market, maybe it hurts it, I don't know. What you do have tomorrow, starting tomorrow, is you have a healthy regimen of data. And so if I go over here and look at the economics calendar, you've got a bunch of data coming out tonight. Wrong one. Let's go get it again. So here we go. You got a bunch of data coming out tonight. This is Thursday, which is going to be morning their time. You got some employment numbers, but you've got a slew of data coming out of Japan, and that is going to define what Japan does. So Japan's going to be a big number tonight with all the numbers coming out of it, with PMI and so forth. That's going to be a big set of data. And then tomorrow, here in the U.S., you really don't have much. You do have a GDP number, but you got a CPI coming out in Germany. There's just a bunch of data, and as you can see, Friday gets really busy. So this is going to drive a lot. And then you've got first of the month, where the PMIs come out and so forth in China, and then the U.S. on Monday, I would think. I haven't looked that far ahead, but I believe Monday we'll see PMI numbers here. And so you can see that the calendar is heating up with respect to the economics, and that's probably what's going to drive things. So look to Japan tonight, see how they trade. If they can trade higher off of all their numbers, that's going to put a positive spin coming into Europe. You still have the negative headlines of the uncertainties that are out there. You can see the push-pull that's taking place. If you ask me, I'm not flipping a coin here, but it looks like we're gonna push lower first, and then we're gonna get that move back up, and then we're still gonna have all the uncertainty up until the Fed meeting, the taper talk, the budget talk. So this market is not gonna go anywhere big either way. Looks more like a range. Now the question is what does that bottom of that range look like? Have we already hit it, or are we going to finish all those ABCDs down? And my inclination is we're probably going to finish them off. So we'll see if that's the way it works out. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. I appreciate you being there. You tell a friend, tell two. I'm L.A. Little. This is and was your daily TA wrap. Have yourself a great night, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Good night, folks.